Hello learners, welcome to e-education Let's Crack NIOS. Today we are doing Introduction to Social Science. This is chapter number 0, part of 10th standard social science syllabus. So, Introduction to Social Science. Imagine that you owned a time machine and that you traveled back to those days when your great grandparents were children. You found that your home and the surroundings look very different. If you travel back further, you will be even more surprised and fascinated by the food, clothes, and even the language that your ancestors were using. Wouldn't it be interesting to know what happened in the past? Do you realize that we can relate with our past even today? Does it not sound like a mystery that we must solve? In order to do this, we will use sources to understand how human life progressed from prehistory till today. The objective of this chapter 0 is, after studying this lesson, you will be able to establish the study of social science. That study of social science includes disciplines like history, geography, economics, political science, and sociology. Appreciate that all these subjects areas are interconnected and together form the knowledge mass of social science. Discuss the different stages through which human societies evolved and identify opportunities and challenges of a present day society. So what you see here, the social science subject is not part of one subject itself. It's a part of many subjects brought to become one subject, that is the social sciences. As the name itself suggests, social science is concerned about society. It aims at understanding all aspects of society as well as finding solutions to deal with social problems. It is a broad area of knowledge and includes several different disciplines under its domain. The main one that you need to know at this stage are history and archaeology, geography, political science, sociology, and economics. History is what happened in our past, and archaeology is the objects or the places that come up in our past. Geography is the location. Political science is about how a society ran itself, that means how a society governed itself. Sociology is about the society, and economics is about the marketing, or what do you say, how you earned money or how a society ran that time, what kind of currency did you have or what kind of system did you have to do any kind of transaction. The various modules and units of this course in social science are connected with these very subjects. In this unit, we will try to understand the discipline of social science, especially history. We will understand the importance of studying social science and how closely it is related to our lives. We will see how, as human beings, we have gone through several stages to evolve from when we lived in caves to today's modern world of cities. We will read about history not simply as a set of facts about our past, but also learn from them. Social science also helps us to acquire a capacity to make interconnections between various subjects. We will learn to draw linkage between events and process of development across the times. This will help us to draw connections between our past, present, and future. Let us study more about these subjects to understand their impacts on our lives. How do you think the subject of social science at secondary level will help you to understand better the society around you? Explain with at least 2 reasons. So this is to be answered by you, my dear learners. Give us 2 reasons why you think social science will help you understand society better. Now we come to study of social science. An academic discipline or a field of study is a branch of knowledge that is taught at various levels of education and research at university level. Any field of study has several subdisciplines or branches. These may at times overlap. Some important branches or subdiscipline of social science are economics, history and archaeology, geography, political science and sociology. You would be surprised to know that in the beginning there was only one discipline, philosophy. Philosophy means love for wisdom or knowledge. That is why, even now, the highest degree in any subject is PhD, that is, Doctor of Philosophy, or also known as doctorate. Later, when knowledge started increasing and expanding, a need was felt to classify knowledge into different disciplines. Science and social science came to be differentiated. Both refer to different aspects of our reality. Environmental science deals with knowledge regarding the natural and physical world. Social science, on the other hand, deals with knowledge concerned with all aspects of society and human beings themselves. Let us begin with history. History and archaeology. What is history? History is an account of events that have happened in the past. It is about the real people and the real things. It does not deal with mere ideas and ideals of what should have been. On the other hand, it is the study of what has been. History does not deal with individuals alone. It is concerned with nations, societies. It is not limited to kings and queens, but all human beings. It includes all men and women, rich and poor, irrespective of their background in terms of religion, caste, etc. Have you ever wondered how and what happened to our ancestors in ancient time? You will learn about them in this book. While going through this course, note down all the events which seem interesting to you. Go to the library and search the internet to see if you can get more information on them. We will also help you in your search for more knowledge. Why do we study history? The study of history helps us to know our roots, strengths, and achievements and give us a sense of pride as well as direction. What we call progress would be non existent if we do not have proper knowledge and understanding of our past. This is a general belief that history deals with the past, which we think is dead. In reality, our past has important lessons for the present and the future. History records the legacy that has an important bearing in our lives. In essence, history relates the story of cooperative action of a large number of men and women in their quest for a better life. When we think of how we can know about our past, we get connected to archaeology. Often, these past activities and achievements bring a sense of pride. Let us keep them safe for our future generations. Archaeology is the study of the ancient times with respect to society and culture. The traces of those events can be found in material remains. The artifacts, burials, ruined buildings, monuments, etc., and are studied by archaeologists. They interpret them to provide knowledge about the times to which these artifacts belong. The study of archaeology also includes the written records that are very ancient and cannot be easily deciphered or understood. These sources give more reliable and authentic information. Most of the time, such traces are found buried underground and have to be dug out. This is called archaeological excavation. Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Nalanda are some of the well-known sites where excavations have been undertaken and valuable materials found. Such excavations are often carried out and reported in the newspaper. A very interesting recent discovery is that of the remains of a city found under the sea near Gujarat. It is believed to be Hindu god Krishna's city, Dwarka. Rakhigari in Haryana is another very recent excavation site. A trip to such sites will transfer you back to those times. You must visit such sites, whichever you get an opportunity. Also, find out more about such sites in other countries too. Archaeological sources also include inscription, pillars, metal plates, coins, seals, monuments, tools, pottery, toys, pictures, etc. Work of art like painting, sculpture, etc. tell us about the culture of particular periods. Look around your city or town for a museum, or visit somebody's house which has a collection of some of these items. Make a list of them and then try and find out which period they belong to. For this, you can search on the internet or visit library to know more about them. Today, a lot of information can be got from books, magazines, and newspaper. Do you know the Archaeological Survey of India under the Ministry of Culture is the premier organization for the archaeological research and protection of the cultural heritage of the nation. Maintenance of ancient monuments and archaeological sites remains of national importance is the prime concern for the ASI. For the maintenance of ancient monuments, archaeological sites, the entire country is divided into 24 circles. The organization has a large workforce of trained archaeologists, conservators, epigraphists, architects, and scientists for conducting archaeological activities and research. Explore more about it on the website of the organization www.asi.nic.in. Geography. The study of history and archaeology remains incomplete without knowing something about the geography of the area being studied. Geography is the study of the Earth's landscape, people, place, and environment. In simple terms, it is knowing about the world in which we live. Geography is unique in bridging the social sciences with the natural sciences. Geography plays an important role in shaping the life and history of any society. It helps us to recognize the differences in cultures, political system, economies, landscape, and environments across the world. It also helps us to establish links among them. Geography provides an ideal framework for relating to other fields of knowledge too. If we know the geography of a country, we can understand what happened in history. In this lesson, you will read that early humans made bows, arrows, and other small tools. It is from studying geography that you get to know why. After Ice Age, changes in environment must have taken place. As a result, many dense forests might have become grasslands. Can you imagine what must have happened? Yes, it led to a growing population of grass eating animals like the deer, goat, sheep, and antelope. You also know that these animals can run fast, so hunting them was not easy with heavy weapons. These light stone weapons, which the early humans had invented, helped them in their survival. Do you know that Indo-Ganga plain is the most fertile land in India? This is because big rivers like Ganga bring an abundant supply of fresh water for drinking and irrigation. This is why this land became the first place for establishing big empires like those of the Mauryas, Guptas, and the Mughals. Availability of iron in abundance further helped in expansion of these empires. Can you guess why? You will learn more about this in lesson 4. Now we come on to political science. Government is a word with which you are familiar. You often hear or read about it in the newspaper or in the television. Have you ever thought about what a government is? Do you know the role it plays in our lives and the important things it does for the people? The government of a country makes laws, and everyone living in the country has to obey these laws. In democracy, it is the people who give power to the government when they elect them. In this way, people help the parliament of the country make law. While in a monarchy, it is the monarch or king queen who has the power to take decision and enforce them. Social science also deals with how we are governed. It also helps us to understand the role of people like us in the running of nations and governments. This discipline is called political science. Political science is a social science concerned with the theory and practice of politics and the analysis of political system and political behavior. It tells us how the government is elected. Political scientists study the relationship between the political events and the conditions. They try to understand general principles about the way the world of politics works. It includes studies on governments, public policy, political process, systems and political behavior. If you decide to study political science in senior secondary, you will learn more about the political theory, political philosophy and political economy, which are the most important branches of this subject. Sociology is yet another important part of social science. It is the study of human behavior in societal context. Sociology focuses on the study of human groups. Sociology comes from the Latin word sociology. It literally means the study of companion. Sociology seeks to understand the structure of a society and how it works. It also seeks to define and understand the different factors that have shaped our societies. This includes race, class, gender, culture, religion, belief system, and government. Sociology also studies the way individual and group behavior impact on the running of our society. Economics. Living in a society also means that we must know how to organize our lives. We must know how to economize our income, time, and resource. Because all of them are limited, you must also learn to organize your time in such a way so that you can manage to do things you want. Similarly, when we make a budget for our home, we make the best use of resources which are available to us. We can avoid many problems in this way. We call this study economics. It is much more than making a budget. It is scientific study of the ways in which humans make choices about production, consumption and wealth. This becomes very important when we are faced with limited means. It is the social science of striking a balance between need and available resources. Studying this subject will be more interesting if you apply the learning to real life situations. One such activity could be to make your household budget or timetable. All these subjects helps us to understand how the entire process of human progress development takes place. For this, let us go back into our past. Step by step, we will get to know about the evolution of human beings on this earth. Do you know that we study about evolution in science too? But over there, we learn how evolution took place in nature, how plants and animals evolved. It is an interesting story of how the most highly evolved species, human beings, developed from less evolved animals. Do you know that the biological name of our species, human beings, is Homo sapiens? We are going to read more about these Homo sapiens in the next section. Evolution of human beings. The first human-like beings are believed to have emerged about 2 million years ago. They resembled apes. Biologists call them Homo sapiens. It means wise human beings in Latin. They did not know how to cultivate land and grow food, nor did they know how to build a house for shelter. They lived in caves or on treetops. Do you know that human beings had started living on the earth much earlier than they learned to write? The invention of writing was an important landmark as well as written records became the main source of our knowledge of past. Do you know what is not recorded is in writing is called prehistory. You will be surprised to know that the period of prehistory is much longer than the recorded time, which we term as history. So, to reconstruct the life of prehistoric humans, historians, anthropologists study tools, weapons, ornaments, cave dwellings, and cave paintings made by our ancestors. History refers to that period of human evolution for which written records are available. Such writings are found on rock, pillars, copper plates, and more recently paper. Nomadic life, the Stone Age. The primitive human beings were nomads. They kept moving from one place to another in search of food from the environment. They moved in groups to ensure safety from wild animals, for social security and companionship. They also started making tools with stones. So we call that period in human evolution as the Stone Age. In each stage, human beings used stone as implements, which were better than the earlier ones. This helped them to progress to a better and safer life. It had the following main stages: the Old Stone Age, Paleolithic Age. During the Old Stone Ages, Paleolithic Age, that is from 500,000 BC to 10,000 BC, human beings lived in the foothills of the mountains, preferably near a river. The river provides them with drinking water as well as food in the form of the animals that come there to quench their thirst. They could find caves for shelter on the foothills, so their basic need of food, water, and shelter were satisfied early at such spots. Do you know that early humans had to push out wild animals, especially the giant bears, from the caves in order to make a home for themselves? Just imagine how difficult and dangerous life the primitive people lived. To cover and protect their bodies from heat and cold, these primitive humans wore bark from trees and the skin of animals, which they dried under the sun. You must appreciate the role environment plays in sustaining the human being even today. There are some places in India, like the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where tribals live like the early human beings even today. Early humans lived in caves and made paintings depicting hunting scenes on the wall of these caves. Painting of animal chase, especially big animals like bison and reindeers, can still be seen in the Bhimbetka caves in Madhya Pradesh. It is quite possible that this practice of drawing on the wall was some kind of ritual that they ensured that they would be successful in their hunting expedition. It is also possible that it was a creative expression to make their surrounding beautiful by making an artistic expression of their hunts. Do you know Bhimbetaka is an archaeological World Heritage Site located in Raisen district in Madhya Pradesh? The Bhimbetka shelters exhibit the earliest trace of human life in India, which is of prehistoric time. A number of analyses suggest that at least some of these shelters were inhabited by man for in excess of 100,000 years. Some of the Stone Age rocks paintings found among the Bhimbetka rock shelters are approximately 30,000 years old. But the Paleolithic humans also developed certain practices which we must think must be their religious belief. They worshipped their ancestors after their death and buried them with tools and eatables for a comfortable journey to the next world. They were afraid of natural phenomena like lightning and thunder. They could not understand facts like the rising and setting of the sun, but they knew that when the sun rose in the east, it gave heat during the daytime, whereas the moon gave peace and coolness at night. To them, it was something supernatural because they could not understand the cause. So they worshipped the sun, the moon, thunder, and lightning. Moreover, they were wise enough not to destroy nature and its balance. They took from the nature only as much as they needed and preferred to live in harmony with it. Don't you think that the world would be a nice place to live in if the people followed what the early humans did? The Old Stone Age was all followed by the Middle Stone Age or the Mesolithic Age. The Mesolithic Age was regarded as the transitional age between the Paleolithic and the Neolithic Age. The Middle Stone Age or Mesolithic Age, that is between 10,000 BC to 8,000 BC. Let us see how humans during the Mesolithic Age discovered the use of fire. It is quite possible that when two pieces of flint stone were struck together, they produced a spark. This spark may have fallen on some dry leaves and caused a fire. This could have frightened or surprised the early humans. The intelligent humans learned to use this discovery to their advantage. They found that fire frightened the animals and so could provide them safety if kept burning near the caves. It also provided light during the night. Even the food became softer and tastier when cooked on fire. It also warmed up the cold caves by providing heat. Even today, people warm themselves sitting near a fire on a cold winter night. This must have been really a great event in the life of early humans. Can you imagine how the progress of early humans from living on the treetops to the discovery of fire took place? It could not have happened overnight, obviously. It took several thousands of years. No wonder that fire became an object of wonder as well as worship. Just like the fire, just like fire, the use of tool was another important discovery for the early humans. The tools found in the period were called microliths. They were sharper and more effective. Bones of animals were also used to make tools and weapons like borer, scraper, arrow, hooks, arrowhead, hammer. They made hammer and choppers and hand axe with which they cut down small trees. They used it to kill animals for food or build small huts for themselves. They clipped smaller stones to make them as sharp as a knife. By attaching them to bows and spears, they made these tools more effective. Now, they were able to hunt animals from a safer distance. Some of these stone implements have been found in Punjab, Kashmir Valley in the foothills of the Himalayas, and in the Narmada Valley, among other places. If you can visit the library and refer to some books or search the internet, you will be able to locate some other sites where these tools can be found across the world. The New Stone Age, Neolithic Age, that was between 8000 BC to 4000 BC. In the beginning, human beings were mere hunters and food gatherers. It took them hundreds of thousands of years before they could become food producers. This was the beginning of the Neolithic Age. Humans could grow their own food and they no longer dependent on the uncertainty of hunting or searching and gathering more food. How do you think this happened? It is quite possible, like the discovery of fire, this could also have been an accident. Maybe some seeds fell on the ground and plants came out. This plant soon became a regular supply of food. They started sowing these seeds and harvesting them. Now they had to look after the plants they had sown. This was because there was a gap of at least 6 months between sowing and harvesting the grains. This was the beginning of agriculture. It led to a settled life for humans, for now they had a regular source of abundant food. They also had a better chance of survival as they no longer had to go hunting for food. Agriculture brought many advantages and changes in the life of the human beings. They built huts for themselves, which were probably protected by wall. Their fields lay outside the walls. Now they had a regular place to live, which soon took the form of a village. The village consisted of many families which provided protection to each other. Around the same time, the early humans realized that they could keep some animals with them. This was possible because of agriculture. Now they kept grain for themselves and the husk was kept for animals. They had learned to domesticate animals. Do you know that the dog was the first animal to be domesticated? Later, early humans started keeping goats, cattle, and sheep for various uses, especially for meat and milk. They used wool and skin from animals for clothing. This was the beginning of mixed farming. Agriculture provided plant food, while domesticated animals gave meat, milk, and also wool. The early humans had seen plants coming out of seeds and giving food, like the mother who feeds and sustains the life of her children. They started worshipping earth as a symbol of mother. The Neolithic Age human beings continued to remain in awe of the force of nature like the Paleolithic Age people. Gradually, as the humans of their environment increased, a desire for a comfortable life also developed. The early humans realized that it was important to have better tools and implements, so they made them sharper. The axe was used for cutting and felling trees. It was made of hard stone, chipped and grounded to an edge, after which it was nailed to a wooden stick. Similarly, a sickle was used for harvesting the grain. These tools were also polished to make them last longer. These polished tools helped them to clear the land for agriculture and for cutting and gathering crops. Do you know that such tools are used for gardening and farming by small farmers even today? Another important discovery of this period was the wheel. Nobody could believe the innumerable ways it could also affect and change human life. Wheel was used for drawing water from the well in the form of pulley, for spinning of thread and making clothes in the form of spinning wheel or the charkha, to make pottery in the form of the potter's wheel. The invention of the potter's wheel helped them to make cooked food. The pots the pots were made with big twig baskets which were plastered with clay. These pots were of different size and had beautiful patterns on the outside. The greatest use of the wheel was in the cart for transportation. This enabled human beings to carry themselves and their goods from one place to another. Even today, the wheel is used for many important activities. Use of metal, the Charcoaltic Age. Humans had come a long way from their food gathering and stone implement days. Yet they were not satisfied. Soon they discovered a metal called copper. This period now came to be the Charcoaltic Age. In this age, people began to use copper for making implements. Do you remember reading that in order to make clay pottery, the early humans used fire? It is used till today in the form of furnace. Copper was the first metal to be melted by heat in order to make implements. As the early humans started discovering new materials, they started experimenting with them. Copper was mixed with other metals like zinc, tin, and lead to produce bronze. The age in which people started using bronze came to be known as the Bronze Age. The tools made of metal proved to be much more effective than the earlier stone implements. Metallic knives and axes were helpful in cutting down trees and more land was cleared for agriculture. The period where humans used both metal and small pieces of stone is called the Charcoaltic Age. Implements of this age have been found in Brahmagiri in Mysore, Nawab Toli near Narmada River, as well as in Chota Nagpur Plateau. If you happen to be anywhere near this area, try to see the excavated sites and make notes. Compare this information with any other sites which you might have seen or read. Beginning of the community life. Agriculture, mixed farming, development of tools, and discovery of wheel all led to a settled life, which we may call the beginning of a village life. By now, the groups of human beings that had settled together had become larger, and a large group needed someone who could maintain law and order and some discipline. So it was the natural that those one such person that they chose one such person amongst themselves who could lead them. Various groups decided their own method of choosing leader. The leader was often the oldest person in the group, and sometimes it could be the strongest person in the community. The leader looked after the law and order of the settlement. If a dispute arose between any two members of the group, the leader would act as the mediator. Gradually, these settlements became even larger. Towns and cities started coming up. Do you know that the area around the rivers Saraswati and Indus were the places where the first Indian cities came up around 2500 BC? It was the Indus Valley civilization called Indus Saraswati civilization by some historians after the discovery of sites in Harappa. Religion. Human beings all over the world have fear of the unknown. Any event which is not understood by them was held in awe and soon became sacred. The same happened with early humans. The earth assumed the status of a mother figure which provided food for all living beings, her children. The sun gave life and warmth. It was also reassuring after the dark night. It was the same for the moon, stars, rain, etc. People started worshipping them. They started sacrificial rites and sang songs in praise of these natural objects. There were magic practitioners who claimed they could prevent people from coming harm by them. Some individuals decided to perform sacrificial rites and pray for the community. Such people came to be known as priests. People had realized that death was a journey from which people never returned. So they began to follow the practice of making graves for burying their dead. They covered the graves with large stones called megaliths. Sometimes various articles of everyday use were also placed, keeping in mind the requirements of the dead on their last journey. Does it strike you that this reverence for the departed souls persists even today? In fact, you will be surprised to see how many things we have in common with our ancestors. Iron Age and beyond. As you have learnt, human culture and civilization had undergone several phases of development. The earliest human beings started making tools with stones. Later, human beings discovered metals, which proved to be more useful for making tools. Copper, bronze, and iron were discovered in that very chronological order. The discovery of iron was a very important landmark in human civilization. It helped in making tools that were more lasting and durable. Later, other materials came to be used. People learned to make alloys which are made up of two or more metals in fixed ratio. Brass is an example of an alloy. Then we learned how to make steel by adding carbon to iron. And much later, modern science gave us a very useful material called plastic. Plastic is still used for making all kinds of tools and objects of everyday use. It has many advantages over other materials. However, lately it has been found to have a negative impact on our environment. Therefore, its use is being restricted. I am sure you have heard about the ban on plastic bags. The scientists are now trying to discover biodegradable plastic. So you must realize that every age of human development presents its own set of challenges. These have to be addressed as humans evolve to the next stage. Let us now study the various stages of human development. Different stages of human development. Now, based on the above narrative, we can trace the development of human civilization in different stages that are common for people all over the world, in all the countries. We also find that certain discoveries from the past are still relevant today. Example, the use of wheel. Hunting stage. Many clues that have been provided to us by archaeology have helped us to reconstruct our prehistory. This type of life was called primitive because people depended on nature for their livelihood. These early human beings began life as hunters, preying upon beasts, birds, fish, and insects for food, just as wild animals in the jungle do. They lived only as hunters for hundreds of thousands of years. This stage in history was called the Stone Age. This period was also marked by tending of domesticated animals. This gave people an assured food supply and also some new food items like milk, butter, and cheese. For the people, life was much more secure now that it had been when they were hunters. Besides, tending of animals was a much lighter work than hunting. People had leisure to think about other matters, but they still had to live like nomads, moving from one place to another in search of food. They had to look for new pasture for the cattle when the previous one became bare, eaten up by the animals. Then village life, rural. With the advent of agriculture came the opportunity for settled life. People discovered that they could sow seeds in the soil and make them grow into plants. This technique enabled them to grow their own food at one place. Now, they could have permanent settlements, which later took the shape of villages where civilization in the modern sense was born. This can also be termed as the rural stage. Town life, urban. From rural life in villages and agricultures, human beings moved towards urbanization. At this stage, there was immense growth in the population. Human beings were no longer food gatherers, they were now food producers. The groups of families became larger and societies were formed. Now, There was no need for every family to work in the field and produce their own food. Those who were weavers, potters, or carpenters exchanged their product for food. There was a great improvement in the lives. Discovery of metals had led to specialization in preparing crafts. Some artisans had better skill than the other did. This led to the society's stratification into skilled and semi skilled craftsmen depending on the skills they possessed. By this time, metals like copper and bronze had been discovered. They were being used in producing articles essential for comfortable life. Human beings used these skills in making crafts like pottery, leatherwork, and masonry. People would get together at a convenient place to exchange their products. Even the farmers would come to sell their surplus grains and buy other necessities. These activities happened at a central stage. At this stage of civilization, people looked for more than just satisfying their need for food and engaged in other activities such as weaving, pottery, and metalworks. It was also the stage where iron was being discovered. Now there arose a need for structure and categorization into smaller and specialized groups. Divisions of labor took place on the basis of the work performed by them. Humans were now ready to move to the next stage of their existence and development. Their invention of writing was a great step forward. Knowledge could now be passed forward from one generation to another. Writing was also needed for keeping records by the traders, as also by the people who were looking after law and order in the villages, towns, and cities. City life. Later, people started growing surplus grains and storing it for the future. This resulted in a lot of leisure time, which led to the progress of civilization and culture. Arts like painting, music, sculpture, and architecture developed. More decorative crafts like metalworks and ornament making were introduced. Now that people had security and their basic need was fulfilled, they could cater to their higher social and aesthetic need. It was also the beginning of the concepts of caste and class. From towns developed more advanced and urbanized cities. The earlier cities to be discovered were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, which are now in Pakistan. In India, some important sites for these cities were at Ropar near Chandigarh, at Lothal near Ahmedabad, and a third at Bangam in Rajasthan. These cities were well planned and had all facilities that were available at the time, such as roads that cut each other at right angles, drainage system, and use of burnt bricks. With the advancement in science and technology, progress in material spheres was accelerated manyfold. Life became more comfortable and later luxurious. At least for some people, soon cities gained importance too. Some of them came to be called metropolitan cities, in which we find high rise buildings, important office, house, big business houses, and factories. Life has changed for the better for some of us. We have made many discoveries, invention, and innovations to make our lives not only comfortable but also meaningful. But these are many of us who do not have access to clean drinking water, electricity, and basic facilities like education and health. This in turn has created many problems for which we have to find solutions. We shall read more about them in this lesson. Social science and problems of present day society. It has been a long journey from the time when we were hunters in forests, to the modern times when we explore other planets and send out satellites into outer space. Information can now be stored and communicated with the help of computers and robots. We have stepped into the age of information and communication technology. Cities have given way to metropolis, but we are still changing, developing, and evolving and progressing. You may have by now understood how humans have evolved from hunting and food gathering stage to the present day modern society. It has been a very long journey with many new discoveries and challenges and opportunities. The relationship of humans with self, society, and nature should inspire us to create a society in which all of us, rather than only a few selected, could lead a gainful life. Even though we have made good progress, we still need to overcome several challenges. You will read about them, you will read about many of these issues in modules and units following in this course. We will go through them and see what possible solutions we can have for the following: poverty and hunger, inequitable, inequitable distribution of wealth, unemployment and underemployment, parallel economy, tax evasion and black money, corruption in public life, pollution and environmental degradation, lack of nationalism and love for the country, gender based problems, discrimination against women, crime against women, dowry system, infanticide, foeticide, human trafficking, and prostitution, violence, terrorism, Naxalism, hurdles to national integration, linguism, regionalism, casteism, communalism. So, with this, we have come to an end. What we have learned in this chapter: we have understood the importance of studying social science and how it helps us to acquire a capacity to make interconnection between various subjects. History relates the story of human life in their quest for a better life for themselves. Archaeologists study remains, the artifacts, burials, ruined buildings, monuments, while geography is the study of earth landscape, people, place and environment. Political science analyzes 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 political system and political behavior. Sociology deals with structure of society and how it works, while economics in the scientific study of the way in which humans make choice about production, consumption and wealth. We learn that in the various stone ages, humans discovered the use of fire. They made hammer, chopper, and hand axe, with which they cut down small trees, killed animals, and hunted for survival. They worshipped their ancestors after their death, buried them with tools and eatables for a comfortable journey to the next world. Later, they made their tools sharper and more effective. In the Neolithic Age, they made their life more comfortable. Inventions of wheels and its advantages were known to them. Agriculture led to mixed farming and a settled life. It became the foundation for a community life. Soon, villages were formed, followed by towns and cities. So, with this, we complete chapter number 0 of 10th Standard Social Science. Thank you for seeing this. Please do like, subscribe, and comment if you have any doubts. And if you would like, you can join our Telegram and WhatsApp group mentioned in the description box below. Thank you and have a nice time learning with us. E-Education, let's crack NIOS.